As we saw before, though, it is going to be this Olaf as the lock-in for Blessed the Jungle. I think he looked fine on the Olaf. Wasn't really able to transition to lead. He found him on the side of the map, but that's fine. We have a repeat draft here from WE with the Kaisa and the Zoe. We already talked about, Zoe, incredibly great blind pick in the mid lane. Most matchups you're going to do reasonably well. You're going to find priority in most matchups as well. You've got the Kaisa, but it's just incredibly strong. Probably the strongest AD in the game right now, so I like that pick fine. Now for TT, they need to change something up. The follow-ups didn't really work for them last time. They had the Syndra, and they are going to lock in this Vayne, which is sort of known as the Kaisa sort of soft counter in that matchup. So could be a good opportunity for Sam D. Definitely a different take than the Tristan.
Yeah, the Vayne lock-in here is kind of leaning back towards that bot side, is saying, look, we know that our bot lane is what's going to win us the game. And again, they got the early advantages. They got the early kills. They were able to keep Jiumeng and Missing down for, I'd say, a solid 10 minutes until it all just kind of blew up as well. And here's Team WE. They're just going to give as much priority as they can up to Breathe in the top side. They know it's going into a Gnar, so they can just take in the Gangplank, no issues.
Yeah, so we'll have I'm not going to lie. I'm not a color caster. I don't know how the Gnar versus Gangplank matchup shakes out, but I feel like if Breathe is picking the Gangplank into this, I'd assume it's fairly fine, right? Like, Gangplank is safe in a lot of matchups, so I feel like he'll be fine to just chill there. This time around, though, because the top lane lock-in from TT, it does mean that these mid lane bans can come on through. You can just remove the Syndra off the board. I wouldn't be too surprised to see WE banning the Orianna here as well. Can do fine into the Zoe, can match priority, and you can shield when she gets a trouble bubble on you. Set going to be banned means that I wouldn't be surprised to see something like the Leona banned as well from TT. Just trying to stop these hard engaged supports, trying to stop too strong of a 2v2 down in that bottom side of the map. There are still options available in that regard, things like the Alistair, so you expect that WE should be able to find themselves a good hard engaged support on this next rotation. And the Zilean actually going to be respect banned from Twilight.
You know what this comp from TT tells me? I was going to say Zilean was going to be picked, but they banned that away. Now they can look for the Lulu. I would love to see them pick up the Lulu here. The Leona banned away by TT. But again, this is a protect the ADC kind of composition. Things like Zilean, Karma, Lulu, they fit into the protect the ADC. You want to try and keep Sam D as healthy as possible with the Nidalee locked in for Team WE. The only thing they're going to be changing is going to be the support.
I do think they will. I agree with you. I think that would be really fun to see something like the Lulu or the Karma. We've seen that they like playing Karma. I do think they'll probably go with the Orianna because Orianna does incredibly well with Olaf. It does incredibly well with the Gnar as well. It gives you that strong mid 2v2 that I was talking about before. So it gives them more than just the singular win condition in the Vayne. But we have a repeat jungle matchup once again. We're actually going to lock in the Braum here. Which I guess that just means that they are playing complete weak side on the bot lane. This is all just like protect Sam D, certainly in terms of the support pick. Maybe just needed a bit more time to think about the mid lane. And they actually go with Viktor, which I will say that does not match the mid lane priority that Zoe offers.
Not really. Has got a good, not in the early game. Definitely at, when he gets those Hextech upgrades, he's able to get to a point of which he's able to wave clear pretty efficiently, and you do have to watch out for those gravity fields. But we have seen, if you're not really dictating the pace and the position of your enemy laners or even in your enemy team, it's very difficult for you to kind of make this Viktor work out for you because he's got very limited range, he's got very limited damage, and it has to all hit in one big burst. The Karma is going to be the pickup here for Team WE, and this is a bit of a different side for Missing, going with a lot more supportive kind of enchanter rather than going for something like a hard engage, which we're so used to seeing him on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have seen Karma from Missing last year, if I'm not mistaken. I've not got this in my notes. I'm just like racking my brain. But I remember him playing Karma. I remember it being pretty decent from him. This is basically a response to the Braum. If you go something like an Alistair into Braum, Braum is real good at stopping these all-ins, so you're never really going to find that opportunity. So instead, basically saying, look, we already have a ton of poke on this team. I'm just going to facilitate that. Play to peel. We'll play to kite and disengage and re-engage as opposed to being the ones on the front foot when it comes to team fighting. So I don't dislike this. Very much a different style, as you say. And I am curious how this will function when we come to the mid game, because last game we didn't really get to see comp versus comp 5v5s in an even playing field. WE found advantages in the laning phase and ran from there. So I'm expecting that we probably, again, don't necessarily see these two teams like in an even 5v5 like team fight scenario, because I'd expect advantages to happen in the laning phase before we ever get there. Breathe, I'm expecting to get ahead in the top side. Shanks, at least in the early game, should find himself a small lead. Down in the bottom lane, it should be fairly even, and maybe even could be favored for TT, but that Karma is going to make it very difficult for Teen to function.
Yeah, well, we are on to the Rift for the second game of this best of 3. TT versus Team WE. And again, almost identical comp here for Team WE, apart from missing going on to that Karma, so he won't have the engage all in, but he definitely will have a hell of a lot of poke available to him. Now for TT, they're looking to maybe make something happen in this mid lane, or sorry, this mid lane or top lane. Like we said, you've got the Vayne and the Braum, very, very weak side heavy, very much kind of just a defensive setup rather than something that's looking to try and ingress.
Yeah, a ton of range, as we said before. So this is, once again, that jungle mid duo from WE is it's real obnoxious, especially when you get later on in the game. The thing about Trouble Bubble, here's the problem, right? When Shanks lands a Trouble Bubble, this composition is so damn good at following that up, because even if Shanks can't get a Paddle Star in, Nidalee's spear at max range into a Trouble Bubble does absurd amounts of damage. You've then got a Gangplank ult that can always follow up if someone nearly escapes. You've got a Kaisa Killer Instinct to fly across the map and still get involved. Like, all of this in the meantime, you've got Karma shielding and helping everyone out. There is so much follow-up when these small windows are found from WE. And it's going to be a lot down to Teen playing this protective role, and the same for Bless with his Ragnarok, to be able to protect Sam D and Twyla from this long-range onslaught that will come out from WE in the mid-game.
Sam D trying to get the push going for himself. As you can see, the Mantra Q here from Missing, just making sure that they're not getting too big for their boots like they did in the last game. You don't exactly have the same power in the level 2 like you did with the Nautilus and the Tristana in game 1, so curious to see how they approach this bot lane now from the side of TT. And without that kind of explosive bot lane, without the setup that they had and the advantages they were able to accrue for themselves, I'm very much wondering, where do TT look to try and make things happen? That being said, though, it looks like Bless, he's going to try and make it happen anyway.
Yeah, he wants to make a gank happen on this bottom side. Obviously, Jiumeng are missing with a health advantage and a level advantage right now. Jiumeng wants the ward, but Bless is there.
Oh, they don't have level 2 just yet on the Sam D, which meant that he did not have a condemn to push the Kaisa into the wall and get that stun. However, they do get the flash out of Jiumeng, so flash for a heal, you take that for TT.
Yeah, and importantly, Beishang knows where Bless is at this point. He's walked over a ward, so Shanks will be completely fine on this one. Actually, Beishang moving in. This could be a 2v2. Twyla's completely out of mana.
I think it was just more the Beishang just letting Bless know, by the way, buddy, you can't just walk up on top of me. You have to respect these spears. And that's 2 spears in a row now that he's landed on top of Bless. However, it is still very, very difficult to be taking down someone like an Olaf this early on in the game. He just has too much sustain.
He lands the spear. Sam D is in big trouble here. They're going to die.
Yeah. Missing just straight up walks in and gets the kill on top of him. They will get a heal off from Jiumeng to keep Missing alive, but now they can keep pushing on to Teen, who has got the Unbreakable. Ooh. And there's still a minion wave here, so they can continue to dive this. This is so difficult for them to deal with. And Shanks is in the enemy bot side. What is going on?
Oh,
this is just chaos. Chaos will reign, and TT will lose another kill.
This is brutal. This is complete disrespect for WE, and I love this. In the topside invade is so nice from WE. Beishang earlier on realizing he can't just go for the 1v1 because Olaf had, he'll be able to just press W and just auto you if you go into melee range. So he just plays it slow, takes the blue buff, waits for Shanks to rotate over because Twyla, we mentioned before, was completely out of mana, couldn't influence the fight at all. So then Bless ends up essentially in a 2v1 in the jungle, has no way of contesting, and look at the CS difference in the jungle right now off the back of it, and Beishang wants more.
Oh, need to be careful. Chelizi is very, very close to Mega, and it's going to be very difficult to try and burst him down. Has flash available to him as well. So Breed does not want to overcommit to that one there. Knows he can just pick up a hell of a lot more farm, keep the wave nicely pushed up against his turrets, so he's got to be able to get the freeze off on that as well. Contra Q onto Bless. This is just bullying at this stage. They're just trying to make it as annoying as possible.
He cannot catch a break, can he? No matter where he goes, Bless is just getting hounded by the team of WE. We'll get that bot side Scuttle Crab though, so should be able to close the CS cap at least a little bit. Very nice proactive play though from WE in the early game. And obviously with this Braum in the bottom side, it's much harder for TT to play through this bottom side of the map. You'd expect Bless to start to path up towards that top side. In fact, he's going to recall and then go towards his top side here as a bit of an attempt.
They get the concussive blows down and the condemn. Nice combination there from Teeen and Sam D. Missing, tried to just block out Jiumeng from getting concussive blows by the stacked by the Winter's Bite. Ends up biting the dust himself. And great advantage here in the spot side. And honestly, in the early game, it feels like the 2v2 belongs to TT, especially in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, certainly kind of proving me wrong, honestly, on that one. I just said, no, they can't play through the bot side of it. Yes, they can. They very much can. Very nicely done by Teeen and Sam D. And it feels good to see Sam D still being aggressive in this lane. Jiumeng really wanted something there, but not going to happen for him. But yeah, Sam D, we saw he was an aggressive laner back on V5 last year. For anyone that doesn't know this player, he was the AD carry on that V5 squad that was so hyped up that people thought might even make it to the World Championship. He was the laner alongside PP God. Now over on TT, alongside a much newer support. It's good to see that Sam D is still feeling aggressive and still has presence as a player.
Oh, Breathe. Going a little aggressive there with the flash and, of course, the cannon barrage. Does mean that he burns the flash of Chelizi, so overall, nothing really too much to talk about in that top side. Dragon goes in favor of Team WE. And it's about 1,000 gold lead coming up to the 7-minute mark.
Yeah, really nice stuff from WE. They get the Ocean Drake for themselves. This is really important as well because, as you can see, they're 1,000 gold up already. They're starting to build themselves a bit of a lead. The 2 kills that they have, nice spear from Beishang, doesn't really impact anything aside from just letting Bless know, hey, I'm over on this red buff. Don't contest me. I want this one for free. The bot lanes are moving though.
Yeah, they are moving. There is no level 6 for Jiumeng just yet. Condemn against the wall means Beishang has to flash, but they found Sam D. And he will fall. The Unbreakable will only keep you alive for so long, Teen. Your flash might keep you alive a little bit longer. There's too many health bars. There's too many people juggling the aggro. 2 more kills to Team WE. And this is starting to snowball against TT just a lot quicker than game 1, though.
Yeah, there's only so much a Braum can do when it's a 2v4. The thing is, TT opted into that fight. TT knew that Beishang was at the red buff right there. They went over towards him. They were trying to help out Bless, and then they realized Bless isn't coming. And then they've extended way too far, and then it's like, oh, wait, Shanks is here too. Okay, suddenly this is completely unplayable for the bot side of TT. Even if they'd stayed under tower there, I think they would have just been dived. The only available play was just leave towards the tier 2 in the bot side. Don't go near the jungle.
Yeah, it's just not really a perfectly good play there for the side of TT. I feel Beishang just making his presence known against Bless and saying, look, I'm on this Nidalee and I know I am much further ahead than you. I am constantly going to be able to get into your jungle. I'm going to be able to constantly contest you for these camps. And that's just the way it is, sadly, for the side of TT. They have to just try and find their advantages elsewhere. And I feel like that might be in this top side because there is no flash for Breathe. And you still have Chelizi on this Gnar who has a lot of agency if he can get that Mega Gnar going.
Yeah, the big concern, though, is Beishang is getting real big. You can have Shanks that will have priority in this mid lane, can just clear and move up as well. I don't think this Herald will just be free for the side of TT. We could have a 2v2 as well.
Looks like the 2v2 might be the answer. Level 6 is available for both AD carries, but the Mantra Q does stop TT's advance, and they also stop the Rift Herald as well. So, again, advantages galore for Team WE, as they are the ones that are being able to dictate the pace and dictate the, you know, kind of the direction that TT are able to fight.
And I love this from Beishang. Look at the way that he is bullying Bless, but not actually just straight up fighting Bless. if you get close while Olaf has a reasonable amount of health remaining, like obviously you can execute an Olaf if he gets low enough as Nidalee because your Q does execute damage, but he's not actually taking a 1v1. Hang on.
Bot lane, though, we are going to see the Condemn and the Concussive Blows. That combination, that deadly combination. So well done by TT. And again, another advantage in this bot side.
Yeah, missing. It's a couple of times now where he's underestimated what this bot lane can do. I want to go back to talking about Beishang here because he's played this jungle matchup incredibly intelligently. He knows he has an advantage, and it's not necessarily just a 1v1 advantage. It's an advantage in these solo lanes. He knows that Twyla really can't respond to anything that he does, that Shanks is always going to have his back. And so it means that Bless can't really contest him properly. He just has to accept that these spears are going to keep on coming and that he gets bullied out of the play, then he has to leave. It's what we saw that led to the play on the bottom side. It's what we saw there that leads to this Rift Tower for WE.
Oh, with the Condemn down, they can go in with the Killer Instinct. And now Teen, will he be dove upon? He's so close, but Bless is there. He flashes in. He just gets to knock down those concussive blows on the backside. The cannon barrage came down and gave off the death ward to the side of Teen. And they're going to get to kill off Bless. They should be able to get him off now. One last... Oh, never mind. They're able to give it to Shanks. I thought Missing was going to have to steal that one away. Again, I like the idea from the side of TT. They tried to get the Winter's Bite down, get those concussive blows over, but once that misses, you don't have the extra damage, you don't have the extra CC. It's just not going to work out for you. Chelizi going a little ham here, and actually caught between a rock and a TP as he just has to jump in. Shanks has been bot and top in the space of 10 seconds. This mid laner for Team WE is feeling himself.
Yeah, let's go Shanks. Coming into this year, when we talked about WE, Shanks was the big question mark. We knew Breathe was good. We knew he was going to be a good replacement for Morgan. In the mid lane, Teechamar had been the entire identity for WE. He was the guy that was defining how this team plays because of his roams. Shanks has come in. He's had a couple of rocky performances, but here today against TT, he is feeling himself. He is showing why he is the prospect that they decided to have in the mid lane.
This is exciting, exciting times to be a Team WE fan because they are looking good. And looking at they're going from strength to strength to strength. Yes, it's one player's having a bad game. I can't even talk about that right now because they're trying to just jump straight on top of Missing, who gets caught out once again. But with the TP here, Breathe is there. Samd has no health, he has no flash, and he has no way out. They're going to be able to pick that selling up. You'll trade a support for an AD carry any day of the week. And just to finish my point, like I was saying, yes, fair enough, Missing's having a bad game right now, but you need a good team that can just pick up the slack. You need players that can come in and say, look, it doesn't matter that my support, who's normally a top tier support, is having a bad day. I'm a top tier mid laner, and I will keep going for my team. It's just so great to see.
Yeah, and there's a conversation to be had as well where Missing obviously died a couple of times during the lane phase, but like the death there is sort of part of the role within the team. You don't really have a front line, so somebody has to go in river and get vision control. Somebody has to be the person that's playing on a knife's edge. So there's an extent to which Missing is going to have a bit of a dicey scoreline. But at the end of this, the damage on Twyla is terrifying. I don't think they can actually finish this tower just yet. Teen should be able to block a lot of damage. I don't know.
Here. There's a lot of poke damage being thrown in. They should not be able to get it just yet. They are going to back themselves away, but that is risky business for the side of TT. They cannot take that much bombardment, I think is the only word you could really put onto it. Just trying to defend a turret that, you know, it's probably going to go down anyway pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, WE have done enough where it's not going to matter, right? When they feel like it, they can push with a wave and just finish that tower off. You could see that they decided to back away from it because there was a wave crashing on the top side, wave crashing on the bot side. For the sake of just finishing that tower, for the sake of that one tower plate, it's not worth overcommitting and losing actually more gold and then also importantly XP in the side lanes. That is not worth it. So correct decision here from WE to just we can come back to the tier 1 later on. They're not really under any threat of TT getting the first tower in the game anywhere else, so it's not really an issue for them. I just want to point out as well on the scoreboard, Shanks has himself a Magize. He's on 10 stacks. He's 5-0-1. If he can get a couple more kills, he's going to start to get into the territory where, realistically, there's not a lot TT can do to stop him.
Yeah, and just looking down by the items, you have the Night Harvester here for Beishang. You've actually got the Gale Force this time around for Jiumeng. So recognizing that maybe in the early game last time he needed that, you know, skill expression, as you like, with the extra dash, feeling a little bit more confident being able to just move over rather than having that constant DPS or more consistent DPS with the Kraken Slayer. And on the other side, we actually did see Sam D has got the Kraken Slayer. They've also got the Gore Drinker and the Divine Sunderer for Gnar and Olaf. So there is options and potential kind of setups here for the side of TT. They just haven't really found any opportunities to use them.
Yeah, and part of the reason for that is because Beishang has been so aggressive. It means that Bless really doesn't get any freedom in this game. Good bit of damage coming out from Shanks there as he tries to punish.
Oh, exhaust down onto Jiumeng, who doesn't matter if he's knocked up a million times. He should not be able to survive, but you have to walk straight back in and into the loving arms of Breed's Cannon Barrage. It's so easy for them to influence the map with this global top laner. Even without the TP, the Cannon Barrage just makes it a 5v4.
Yeah, this is one of the things we talked about coming out of the draft, is that you have this insane long-range burst damage from the Zoe and the Nidalee. If anyone does escape from any of these skirmishes, you have the Killer Instinct from Kaisa, you have the ultimate coming out from Breathe as well. Like, there is no escaping these fights once they've been committed to, and they'll re-engage from WE. They're quite happy for TT to run at them, which is what TT's composition realistically does. Because they can just kite that out, use the shields and the defense from Karma, and then re-engage on the fight. So you see Teeen steps forward to try and get some marks down, tries to start the fight onto Jiumeng, and the answer immediately comes out. Jiumeng even goes down, but obviously WE have the numbers advantage with the Cannon Barrage on top. Realistically, at that point, there's nothing TT can do.
Bless has to take this blue buff, which is you might think is a weird thing to say, considering they generally would, you know, own their own jungle, but you want to try and give that over to your mid laner if you can at any stage. Chelizi has to flash to try and keep himself alive, but this red buff proccing, it's going to slow him down. He should have Mega very, very soon. And for TWE, they recognize that, they respect that, they back themselves away, they get a crap ton of damage onto this tier 1 on the top side. It's just getting harder and harder for TT. I feel like with, you know, 5,500, 6,000 gold in favor of TWE at a poke comp, it just becomes nigh impossible for them to really make a fair fight or even an outnumbered skirmish in their favor.
Yeah, and I want to quickly take a moment to just touch on, like, what is the miracle scenario that happens for TT for them to win this game? Aside from just random people on WE getting caught out, which, you know, that is a thing that happens sometimes. That is a way that teams win games sometimes. What TT really want is a grouped up 5v5 where they can play to protect Sam D, they can get themselves a big Gnar up, Bless can just run Jiumeng and Shanks down. Like, Shanks does not get to play the game if he mispositions and Bless can close the gap. He will just get run down and just chop through with the axes. He can't really... hang on, Bless is just going to get forced away. Twyla not really interested in helping him on this one. There's the Ragnarok. You know, I take it back. Bless can't do anything to Shanks. I'm sorry, Shanks. Nope. I didn't mean it. Clearly, I offended him. I take it back. You are untouchable. 16 stacks on the veg eyes.
Yeah,
but yeah, the grouped up 5v5. Protect Sam D. That's the play.
Yeah, and again, that's the play. You're going to kind of rely on the side of Team WE losing or making mistakes, I suppose. And with Jiumeng up this top side, Breed. Chelizi misses the hop over the wall. They can just run him down. Should not be that hard at all. That's 3 dragons. That's 7,000 gold. That's a hell of a lot of stacks in a Medjai's, and this is all but over for the side of TT.
Yeah, this is... You know, it's not getting better anytime soon. It's going to get worse before it gets better, in fact. It's only going to get better when you step off of the stage, unfortunately. Missing does take a good amount of damage from Sam D. But yeah, I think they'll walk away from this one. WE now, they're sort of just checking boxes, right? They can just consistently set up on these sieges. The amount of long-range poke damage that they have means that whether it's setting up for a dragon or setting up for a baron or going for these towers, they can sit around and do this all day long. There is no time pressure on them. They can just keep this going. It's going to become more and more difficult for TT to be able to play into this because the damage from Shanks is starting to get really obscene. It's starting to get to the point where, sure, Teeen is playing Braum, right? So let's say they're trying to make a play onto Sam D happen. Teeen can block a lot of that. but he can only block so much. He isn't actually that tanky when Unbreakable's on cooldown. You can see the spear there does like almost half of his health. Ragnarok is just permanently on cooldown. Like, TT, it's so difficult to check into this squad.
Oh, bless. But a great Gnar into the all means Chelizi finds 3 people, but there's no follow-up. They have the cannon barrage to stop everybody from chasing up on top of it. Chelizi looked like he had found the miracle play, but Savdi is dead. There's a little girl throwing paddle stars, throwing stars at you from over the wall. It's just not going to work out for you. You're just too far behind. They're too far ahead. You're going to have to lose absolutely everything. And I commend the effort from Chelizi. That was a beautiful Gnar ultimate. It's just too little too late.
Yeah, that is... the kill on Sam D there was absolutely hilarious. That was Shanks from halfway across the map just slides in and pops him in between everyone. But yeah, I mean, that's what I was talking about, right? The potential 5v5 you've got there. Just imagine that, except Olaf's also there, Gore Drinker and swinging his axes. You've got a Chaos Storm over the top of everyone. In the meantime, Sam D popping crossbow bolts over the wall.
Watch Bless, watch Bless. He uses Ragnarok and he doesn't realize that the blast cone doesn't work when you're in Ragnarok. That's so unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, he could have just ran down there. He would have been fine, but...
Yeah,
I think he was waiting for Chelizi. He was trying to set this up, but unfortunately not tanky enough. The rest of the team can't join in, so it was a valiant attempt. And then Shanks just zips over the wall and one-shots the AD carry.
And yeah, Bless is not really able to do anything. Chaos Storm does get dropped into this top side, but Shanks is there. He is now fully stacked down, ready to rock on this Medjai's. 25 is the lucky number for him. And I gotta say, I've just been so impressed by Shanks this game. Now I will temper my expectations for him as a top-tier mid laner until he goes against much more top mid lane talent. But right now, he is showing that he is most certainly better than majority of kind of, you know, the lower tier team mid laners.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely destroying TT right now. He's having a whale of a time. Let's be brutally honest here. He doesn't feel any pressure, and that's the key thing, right? We talked about the pressure that he was clearly feeling in previous matchups, especially against IG in the first game or two. None of that here, especially on the Zoe. He's feeling really confident. Beishang is even getting jealous. He's picked up a Medjai's of his own. It only has 3 stacks, but he's just like, look, I want to get in on the Medjai's action. My mate's got 25 stacks, so I got to get some. Like, surely I could get some for myself. He's gone for the Night Harvester again. And I will say, Beishang, he's kind of role-playing this game where he doesn't... Hang on, we got to fight. I'll talk about that later.
Well, Baron goes down, missing very, very low, but Jiumeng is available and ready to go. They have got the cannon barrage. Boop! There goes the Olaf from about half HP as a 25 stack full range paddle star does hit him straight in the back of the head. And that is, this is it. This is the game. 13,000 gold. They don't even need the dragon in 20 seconds. It's a Cloud Soul. It doesn't really make a difference. So they're going to just move into this mid lane, take these turrets, take these inhibitors, and honestly just try and end the game. I feel like they'll, even if they lose a fight here and everyone dies, it doesn't matter.
This is pretty over. They can't actually end the game because they don't have enough minions, and there's a Viktor there, so there's the wave player. They're just going to go get the soul. And I want to just quickly correct something that I said there. Because what I said was, actually, we've got a fight on our hands. But this is not fighting. This is just pest control at this point. They're just eradicating the pest that is TT off of their Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, it's... Oh, damn. Shanks taking down Bless from full HP all the way down to nothing. And this top side, Breed just soloing out the mid laner from the side of TT. He's able to flash away, gets the barrel off as well, so no one's going to be able to chase him on this.
See ya.
I don't know. It's just, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I mean, Twyla being subbed in for captain here. The expectation is not that high for him, I'm not going to lie. Like, based on how he performed last year, this is not a mid laner that is notorious for his exceptional mechanics. And you know, yes, he's a control mage player, but we just have insane mid lane talent in the LPL. You have to be so damn good to be able to play this role, and Twyla has struggled here today. Also, Bless has just been completely bullied out this game. The Viktor pick, to be honest, I don't like. I don't know why they didn't go for the Orianna. I think Orianna would have just been straight up a better pick at this point. You could have contested the mid priority a little bit better. You also could have supported Bless a bit better as well, so I really feel like Orianna was the answer here. The Viktor has meant that they lost complete control of the jungle, and you can see the result of that W were able to snowball that so incredibly hard for.
Well, they're trying to go for something here, but the cannon barrage on top of all 5 members means they are just peppered down constantly. Jiumeng going all the way into the back line. This game is done. This team is over, and Team WE with a clean and decisive 2-0 on the day.
That so ultimately, I think there are positives you can take away from TT. Like, this bot lane has some strength.
It's like abstract art. You just gotta squint like real hard. You be like, oh, I could kind of, it looks like there's a positive there, I guess.
Hey,
but
their logo is cute. That's pretty positive. So
yes, it is. It is.
They've got that going.
We have yet to see.
Let's talk about WE.
The Thunder.
It's easier to talk about WE.
It's easier, but it's easier, but at the same time, there's not really a lot we can add here. They just dominated in this game from the start to finish. Yes, there were some small moments of having fun, shall we say, in that bot side, but Beishang proving why we consider him a top 3 jungle in the role. Shanks really stepped up today and showed why he should be maybe even given an opportunity to fight against the big boys. And Breathe was just on the gangplank, didn't have to do anything, and just kept himself alive and just did DPS. It was honestly, it was just an all-around great time for the side of Team WE.
Breathe is exceptional. Breathe is actually, in my mind, he's in the conversation of one of the top laners in the LPL. I'm not going to put a number on it. I'm not going to try and make any ridiculous statements, but just look at what he's played so far this split. He has played defensive top laners in like the Volibear, the Gragas, the Ornn. He's played, sorry, I've misspoken there. He's played these carries. He's played things like the Shen. He's played things like the Ornn. He's played the Aatrox, the Camille. Like, there doesn't seem to be any style of top laner he can't play. Now bringing out the Gangplank, which is a totally different style to what we've seen from him in the past. Like, when you think about him last year, you think of the highlights on things like the Camille and the Fiora, and like being the 1v1 carry, but he's very clearly so much more than that as a player, and it feels great that this year we get to explore that alongside WE. It's such a great evolution to witness.
Yeah, honestly, it feels like this is what you need to be a top team in such a competitive region. You need diversity in terms of your team comps. You need to be able to execute on those different team comps, and you can't be pigeonholed or painted into a corner of, we play this one style, and that's all we can play. That hasn't worked since RNG and Uzi, basically. So you have to be able to come out with all these different strategies, and you have to be able to execute on them very, very strongly. And I feel like right now, Team WE are showing us that they can.
And the fact that they can play something other than Orianna in the mid lane is a huge relief, because it's not that I expected him to only play Orianna. We now have 2
champions.
I expected more from Shanks than just Orianna, but it's good to actually see it, and it's good to see that he's good on Zoe, you know? Because there's a difference being proficient at a champion enough to play it, and being able to like flex on a champion, you know? He feels very comfortable on this Zoe. This is a blind pick that they can go for. Both of the champions that we now can can expect from him in this Orianna and the Zoe are both champions that you can quite happily blind pick in that mid lane as well. So every time they're on the red side of the draft, they can very happily just go for a blind pick in the mid lane and leave the counter pick available for Breathe so that Breathe has the space to just dominate his lane. And then you have two perfectly fine matchups on the top side of the map, and you give that freedom to Beishang that we started the day off talking about.
And for Team WE, this was not the highest of caliber opponents. You came off of a high of beating IG, and now you're coming down into, you know, the TT setup. They have two very big tests coming up right now. You got LNG on Sunday, and I think they have Friday week, they have RNG. So two, again, at the moment, undefeated teams in the LPL. That's where I want to see them. If they can continue this momentum, if they can continue to innovate and to improve, they'll be the big test right there.
Yeah, and I think against LNG, I would say that WE are favored based on what we've seen so far, but LNG still a team that are relatively untested. They've not played anywhere near as many games as WE have, so there's still a lot to be seen. And certainly in the jungle matchup, Beishang will be much more tested against a player like Tarzan. But then the RNG matchup, I mean, I guess we get a bit of a preview after this series, because we're going to be watching RNG today. RNG still currently undefeated. That could end up being a series where it's two undefeated teams and one of them will leave with a loss, right? So that could be incredibly exciting.
Yeah, we'll see how they want to go for it and see how they all develop. Of course, we got OMG and RNG coming up very, very soon as well. But final thoughts onto TT. Do you think Twilight's going to stay? Do you think Captain gets subbed back in? Where do you think, in your opinion, this is on the spot. We have no idea. We've absolutely no call on this. But where would you prefer to see them kind of focus?
I would like them to bring Captain back. I like that they tried something different. I appreciate that it wasn't working, and they needed to do something. I wonder if maybe Twilight is a bit of a shot caller or something, and maybe that's why they brought him in, because mechanically, he was just completely destroyed today, to be perfectly honest. I think Captain in the LDL showed some really good stuff. He showed that he can be a very independent mid laner as well, and can snowball incredibly well on IG Youth. So I would like to see Captain given another chance here in the LPL, because he was a player that had a lot of hype surrounding him coming into the LPL. So I would like to see him given another chance, because Twilight, to me, he's not the answer. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I kind of tend to lean towards you there and say that I agree. I think that the level of competition in the LPL right now is that you can't get away with a one trick or someone who's into unorthodox picks. You have to kind of play meta. You have to be able to kind of go toe to toe with your lane matchup, because if you don't, like we saw today, you're gonna have a 25 stack Medjai's Zoe looking at you at 22 minutes, and that's not where you're going to be able to take any kind of wins in this series, in any of these series.
Yeah, I mean. The Medjai's was a confidence buy. He had 10 stacks on his Dark Seal, and then at that point it was like, okay, well, he's already 5-0-1. He's got a 10 stack Medjai's. He just needs one good team fight now, and it's absolutely over. And then they got like 9 good team fights off the back of it. So there's only so much you can do at that point. And Shanks with a really tremendous performance today.
Yeah, very much so. And in fact, so much so that he is our MVP of that game. And honestly, 100% deserved. I don't think there's any question over that, him getting this particular award.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at the damage to gold. 170%.
That's always going to happen when you have a Medjai. It's just because it amplifies the value of it so exponentially.
Yeah, but I think that's actually an interesting point as well, in that to get 170% damage to gold ratio, that means you're being very aggressive and outputting a lot of damage every moment of the game. And also doing that when you've got a Medjai's means that you're very confident, because you're risking those stacks in all of those situations. So really, really well played from Shanks. This was a confidence game from him. And I feel like we can see this mid laner growing game to game, which is a rare thing. Like, you don't often get to see the growth of a player so clearly before you. So I'm hoping that they can continue to expand this champion pool. I'm hoping that there are other picks that we yet don't know about that Shanks is going to bring out in the coming weeks and will show us that he is incredibly competent on. I'm exceptionally excited about this WE squad. I feel like the weaknesses we've seen in the past have been removed now with these new solo laners coming in. nothing more to say. I'm just excited for what WE has.
Yep, nothing more for us to say.